Welcome back to my channel and welcome to this week's video, which is going to be sort of a focus on my timetable and workload type thing. So I'm going to go through my contact hours and the amount of work that I have to do to survive at Oxford University. So if you enjoy this video, do give it a thumbs up. If you have any questions or comments, stick them in the comment section below. And of course, subscribe if you haven't already, because it's really helpful and I do appreciate it. So let's get straight into it. Okay, so in this video, I'm going to start off by giving an overview of what I do. And if you haven't already, I would suggest either pausing this one and going over there now, or at the end of this one, watching my two videos from last year on the teaching style at Oxford University and also the workload video from last year. And I will link those in a card up above. So definitely check those out. They give a bit more background and they should be quite helpful. But anyway, so this year I have lectures, seminars and tutorials again, and things work a little bit differently this year because everyone does different things. We choose our modules and there's a lot more choice across the board. Obviously, grammar and translation papers are standard, and so classes for those are slightly more simple, but literature modules are all different. So we have tutorials with people from other colleges, they're organized by different tutors, and everything is a lot more complicated. The same goes for lectures. This term I'm studying Spanish medieval literature, but there are no Spanish medieval lectures. They come next term. And in fact, there is one set of Spanish lectures I would have liked to watch this term, but I couldn't because they clashed with some French medieval lectures, which I have to watch for this term's work. So it's extremely frustrating sometimes, but you just have to adapt. So let's start with French. Now, I have 3 to 4 lectures per week, 2 on medieval literature, 1 on Molière, and then starting next week, I'll have some on Racine and some on Rabelais. So these happen weekly. I go to the Taylorian Institute, the big library, the big languages library, sit down for an hour, take notes. There we go, done. Now, I have to go and watch the Racine and Molière and Rabelais lectures this term now, even though I'm not studying them, because these lectures might not run in the term when I am studying them, whether it's later on this year or next year, well, next year being 4th year. So you sort of have to know and plan ahead the subjects and the authors you're going to be studying so that you can go to the lectures when they're on, which is slightly irritating, but also at the end of the day, that's just the way it works, unfortunately. Next up, I have seminars, and for French this year, I have a weekly class in which we work on English to French translation, grammar points, summary writing, and essay writing. So on sort of in contrast to last year, this year we are working on essays in French. So we have a specific class for that. We also do a bit of translation, a bit of grammar, and a bit of summary writing in these classes. They're very general, and there's a bit of work to do for them, usually a translation or a bit of an essay. In these classes, just got to switch hands, it's too tiring. In these classes, we've also been working on cover letters and CV writing in French, because obviously next year is my year abroad, so we need to be able to apply to jobs. It takes between an hour and 2 hours to get the work done for these classes every week. Then I also have another seminar, which is French to English translation, and these happen once a fortnight, again within college, and I do about 1 to 2 hours work again per session, so that's 1 to 2 hours work per fortnight. Moving on now to tutorials, and I have 1 per fortnight on a Friday, and for each one I have an essay due. Now, last year for Spanish and sometimes for French, I had an essay due once per week. So I essentially had 2 due per week. This year I have 2 due per fortnight, but the questions are so much harder and there's so much more reading to do and there's so much more brain power involved. and the essays themselves take longer to write, that I'd say to write one essay takes me between 12 and 15 hours in total, usually spread across 4 days. It's hard work. Even though there's one per fortnight, it's hard work. Both of my essays for French and Spanish are due in on even weeks. So my tutorials are on even weeks, which means that I sort of have to be on top of things and make sure that I get one essay done in odd weeks so that I then have the even week to do the other one. Because if I left 2 for 1 week, there's no way I would be able to do it. So that's French. I will put up summaries at the end of everything I did, so don't worry. For Spanish, I don't have any lectures this term. I'm going to start having some next week, actually. I'm going to go to some Cortázar lectures. He's an author, I believe, from Latin America. He's an author that was recommended to me by my tutor from last year as a potential special author that I might take forward into 4th year. But yeah, because there are no lectures relevant to what I want to do, then I don't do them. But there we go. Then I have 2 hours per week of language and translation classes. It's usually between 1 and 2 hours work for both of those. So as in 1 to 2 hours work for the 2 hours of class. So it's not too much. And we just do translation from English into Spanish, a bit of grammar work, a bit of vocab work. And we're also going to be starting on essays in Spanish, CV writing, cover letters, the same sort of thing as we do in the French. In addition to that, once every 4 weeks, so twice a term, I have a Spanish to English translation class. I just had one today, my first one. And the translation for those take between 1 and 2 hours again. So yeah, then tutorials, as I've sort of already alluded to, I have 1 per fortnight on even weeks. And again, an essay for this takes between 12 and 15 hours. As you may have gathered from last week's video, the first one I wrote was not very good, and I will find out today whether the second one I wrote was any good. We'll see. Fingers crossed. I'm slightly more confident about it, so yeah, I hope. In addition, it's not really a tutorial, but there are only 2 of us in the class. I have an extra oral class where I have to do about an hour of work to prepare for it. We tend to get sent an article, have to have a think about it, develop some opinions on it, and then we just talk for an hour about it. I really enjoy those. I can often get very stressed though, because the topics we discuss are quite deep and interesting and profound. So strong opinions come out. So yeah, that is, sorry, lots of hand swapping. That is just about it, I think. If you have any questions, as I said, put them in the comment section. I may have forgotten something, so please do ask and I will get back to you. And if you like this video, give it a big thumbs up and of course subscribe. So thank you very much for watching. Stay tuned.